here now. I'm a part of this. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking you on a very extensive journey through my PlayStation 4 collection. Folks had a lot of fun watching my videos for my PS3 collection and some of my other systems, and so I've had requests to do PS4, and here we are. In terms of my current collection, I have about 400 physical PS4 games. But that number is very much actively growing right now. It's still a system I'm actively collecting for, It's sort of the generation that refuses to die, at least at the time of this video, and so new releases are still happening for PS4, and I'm still have a very large wish list of things that I want to pick up. So we could very easily in a couple years do an update to this video, but as it stands, 400 is pretty good. It is my largest library, second is as PS2, I think. But I have more games for PS4 than any other console. So we're going to go through all of them today, including the PlayStation VR titles, and give you my thoughts, why I picked it up. There's tons of games in here that I have not played yet. I have obviously not had time to play 400 video games, but I have played a good amount of them, enough to speak to several of them. So it's not really going to be in any order. It's going to be roughly in alphabetical order, but I'm not super strictly adhering to that, so we're just going to kind of go as we go and dig into it. So you can see the collection that I couldn't stack next to me right here. That'll change over time as the video goes on. You can see poor Mario slunched in the corner. Sad that we're not talking about Nintendo today. But why don't we just kick it off? The first game here is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is an incredible game by Vanillaware. It's kind of a sci-fi, time travel-y type of like multiple narratives storyline. Obviously it's Vanillaware, so it's got gorgeous artwork. Really, 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 really good game, and probably one of my favorites on the console, honestly. We're starting out with a bang here. This was my game of the year that it came out. I loved it. And this is a version that has a slipcover, and it comes with a little art book in there too, which is always good to have with a Vanillaware game because the art is second to none. Next one up here, we have a Spike Chunsoft game. It's 428 Shibuya Scramble. This one's really interesting. It's like a real-life footage, FMV-ish sort of... Almost like... It reminds me of Incredible Crisis, but shot on an actual camera. So it's just like zany, weird situations. There's branching paths and all sorts of stuff. Pretty neat release, and not one that I see too many people talk about. We've got Ace of Seafood. This is kind of what it says on the tin, right? You play as this fish, you shoot lasers, you attack other enemies in the ocean. It's janky, it's weird. I mean, it's not good, but it doesn't need to be good. It kind of hangs its hat on its premise and not really on the actual game. Fun to poke around at, and I played it for like an hour. I had a smile, and then I moved on, but I might revisit that sometime. I actually finished it, so I wonder what it's like to actually complete that game. Next up here we have Arrow. This is... Actually, I thought this was a rhythm sort of rail shooter. I have not played this one, obviously. It's still sealed. But I remember at the time I looked up footage of it, and I really liked what I saw. This is a limited run game, and so I picked it up, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm trying to be brief because again we have 400 games to go through, but if you want to know anything more specific about any of these games, feel free to ask in the comments. Our first PSVR game, we have Accounting Plus. So this is sort of in that Justin Roiland style, Rick and Morty adjacent, that kind of humor. And it, in terms of VR games, plays kind of like a job simulator or something like that, maybe a little bit more involved than Job Simulator. Interesting, fun game, good VR experience for like 1 or 2 hours of gameplay. Not too long or involved, but I liked it. In terms of VRs, thought it was quite fun. We have Abzu. This is one of my favorite games on the console as well. I love this game. It's by Giant Squid, which is sort of a spin-off of some of the talent behind that game company that made Journey, which is one of my favorite games ever. And Abzu is really, really something else. Imagine Journey, but underwater in like beautiful ocean vistas, coral reefs, colorful, bright seaweed, all sorts of stuff. Nice, like, concise, maybe 2-hour experience or so. super, super good. And this game's super cheap, so this is one that I would definitely recommend adding to your collection. We have A-Train Express. So there's going to be a lot of games that meet this criteria, so I might as well just mention it now. You can see this one's still sealed. There was a time where I sort of loosely played with the idea of going for a full PSVR 1 set, because there weren't that many PSVR 1 games physical. I guess I haven't fully committed to not doing that, but at some point I lost steam on that, and it became too hard to like keep track of all the releases, especially because I was also going for stuff that released in like European regions and Japanese only games, and so just got a little bit dicey, but I picked this up as part of that. And it is an Art Dink game, and Art Dink makes a lot of weird, very interesting kind of like games that aren't usually a ton of fun but are fascinating and sort of experimental, so I don't regret picking it up. Ooh, very popular game here, A Way Out. This is the co-op prison escape game. Really fun. Played this with a buddy of mine in basically one big sitting. We had a lot of fun with it. One that I need to revisit to go back and kind of clean up the platinum trophy on, but in the time that we did play it, we both really enjoyed it, and I've kind of been meaning to replay this one too. You know, folks had a lot of positive things to say about this one when it came out, and there's a good reason for that, I think. Something that you may or may not know about me, I have mentioned it in passing in other videos. I'm a sucker for mini golf, and so I pretty much pick up any mini golf game that I can. 3D mini golf, this is as janky as you would expect. I think it actually just got a port to PS5 not long ago. I mean, it's fun enough for a mini golf game, but it also has like, how to describe it? Like, the physics are very strange. No matter what speed you hit your ball, when it crosses over a hole, it will always go into the hole. So you can just crank that thing down the green, and it will always go into the hole as long as you line up your shot right. So maybe not the most realistic, but you know, dumb fun. We have the .hack/GU Recode, or Last Recode. This is a bundle pack of the 3 .hack GU games. These were originally on PS2. So there was the original 4 .hack games, and then this was kind of the second series that followed. There was 3 of them. I got this because this was so much more affordable than getting the 3 games on PS2. Those used to be very collectible. And I did play through the original .hack series, and I really liked it. I just haven't played through GU yet, as you can see. But I was happy to get this, and it's good news for folks because I think this collection also drove down the price of the PS2 games, so now you have options in terms of where to pick it up. Apex Construct. Played only a little bit of this one, a VR game where you're using kind of a bow and arrow. It was fun, but I need to give it a little bit more time. Here's another one that might surprise people. This is the sealed Bloodhound version of Apex Legends. So yes, this is a physical game physical version of a free-to-play game. I got this just as a representation of this game in my collection. When Apex Legends came out, I actually was really addicted to it. I played it for 100+ hours, tons when it first launched, and like the first few characters were coming out. And it's a Respawn game. I'm a huge Titanfall 2 fan, so you know that the actual like movement and shooting is going to be really good. And Bloodhound, I think that's his name. Yeah, that's this character. He was the one that I played most, and so I had to get the physical version with him on the cover. Sometimes I like to just have a representation of a game I spent a lot of time with or enjoyed a lot, even if it's like there's no real reason to have this collection, right? You can download the game for free. You just get some like skins and extra currency and stuff, but I'm not even going to open it up. I'm just going to have it as a token. Oof. Among the Sleep. I played this one in October during one of my spooky season streams a couple years ago. It's a quote-unquote horror game where you play as a young kid. Very short and honestly pretty rough. Not my favorite game. It was janky. I had issues with checkpoints. It was never scary, and it's just not the best. I mean, it's a neat idea, and if you can get it for cheap, you might have fun poking at it, but I would say if you're actually looking for good horror, this is not it. We have The American Dream, a samurai punk virtual reality trip. This is a VR game that is a parody of like American gun culture. So you like play through a whole bunch of different sequences across the lifespan of this individual, and it'll be like a baby being tucked in with a gun next to you, and you'll have to like shoot clouds and your mobile and all sorts of weird stuff. It's a game that's just having fun. Otherwise, in terms of gameplay, it's a shooting gallery type game. Played through that one. Yeah, it was entertaining. I had fun. A lot of times with the VR game, they don't end up being like some of my favorite games ever, but I enjoy my time with them for a couple of hours. Love this one. Alwa's Collection. So this is a 2-pack that contains 2 indie 2D platformers, Alwa's Legacy and Alwa's Awakening. Always Awakening is actually the first one, and Legacy is the sequel. They are gated exploration, sort of NES throwback style games. Both really, really good. I've played through both of them on Steam. Loved them. Really want to replay them again. Do a little trophy hunting on this version. Yeah, some of my favorite indie releases to come out in a long time, and I was really happy to see that Elden Pixels was able to put out this cool version. We have Agony. This is a like very intense, gory, over the top, I guess like survival horror game. Maybe a bit like Scorn for folks that played Scorn more recently. Sort of hangs its hat on the fact that it's like extra violent. I have not actually played through this one yet. I just am curious to check it out. Don't know when I'll get around to it, but it seemed kind of interesting. We have a copy of Air, Memories of Old. This plays, again, you'll see a lot of games in my collection that are like this. This plays pretty similar to something like a Journey. It's that sort of like light puzzle solving, exploration focused, sort of art first type of game. This only takes like an hour or two to finish, if even. Very, very fast. It kind of has a reputation for having a really easy platinum trophy. But in terms of the actual game, it's a fun hour or two. You know, it's like a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. It's not going to shake you to your core, but it's enjoyable. Adam's Venture Origins. This is the physical version of the Uncharted game no one asked for. So yes, this is budget Uncharted. It plays like an Uncharted game, but if the Uncharted game was made on 1/20th of the budget, it's janky, it's funny, it's entertaining enough. Not a great game, but for what it is, you'll have your fun. We've got Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. This is a nice, beautiful sort of holofoil slipcover. I believe this was the Kickstarter backer edition. And I played through Bloodstained when it first came out. I am a huge Symphony of the Night fan. I liked Bloodstained. I did not love Bloodstained. I think that this game was fine, but it didn't really live up to what I was hoping that it would be. I actually like the 2D ones that they made more. Curse of the Moon and Curse of the Moon 2 more than Ritual of the Night. I think those are the better games. But need to have this, and of course, love that beautiful slipcover. We've got Bloodborne. Bloodborne is a game that needs no introduction. You know, maybe my favorite Souls. Probably like my second or third favorite Souls game. Obviously really great. I remember when this came out, it was so much fun. Me and all my friends were like in voice chat parties sharing like war stories basically of the bosses we were fighting and what we were discovering and all sorts of stuff. One of my favorite new releases or new release experiences for a FromSoft game. And obviously it's been almost a decade since this came out. Obviously we are looking forward to a remake at some point, but even in all of its 30 FPS glory, this game still is absolutely worth your time. Blood and Truth. This is one of the first games sort of pitched as like AAA VR experiences. So it plays very much like a action movie, like a Gone in 60 Seconds or something like that. It has that sort of summer blockbuster energy to it. Fast cars, guns, you know, all that jazz. Made by London Studio, so rip to London Studio. It's unfortunate that they got shuttered. They did not deserve it. But in terms of big budget experiences, this is pretty fun. I think that it made a bigger splash when it first came out than maybe it would now, because now there's more and kind of like bigger VR experiences that exist. But at the time, I did enjoy my playthrough of that. Got Blair Witch. This is one that I have not played through yet, but I do intend to. Blair Witch is, survival horror game based on the Blair Witch properties made by Bloober Team, which has a bit of a mixed reputation, although I don't personally mind them. I like Bloober Team's work. I know that's Not always everybody's most common opinion, but I've had some friends that play through this that have said that it's good, not great, but I'm looking forward to popping it in whenever I find the appetite for some survival horror. Black Mirror, again, this one's a little bit more, I think, on the like cosmic horror side, but I've heard good things about this one. Have not popped it in yet. This is obviously still sealed, but one that I do intend to get around to and try. Seems cool. Bayonetta and Vanquish double pack. I do own both of these games individually on PS3 and 360, but couldn't resist the double pack for cheap. You know, a much better way to play games like Bayonetta. And I'd like to go through both of these at some point. I've never actually played Bayonetta myself. I've watched my wife play a lot of Bayonetta. She loves Bayonetta. And I have played some Vanquish, but yeah, really looking forward to digging back into both of those. Kick in my chair. We have Battle Princess Madeline. So I love the idea of this game. It's kind of like a Castlevania style 2D action adventure game. And the idea is that a lot of the character designs and story and bits about this game were designed by the developer's child, his daughter, which is so cool to let her like kind of invent whatever character she wants and then put them in the game and turn them into real life. So that's very sweet. The actual gameplay itself outside of those designs did not really work for me. It was a little bit bland. It's a kind of a better idea than a game, but it is cute. And this is still sealed because I think I kickstarted this one and I think I got a code ahead of playing it, or I might have gotten like a Switch version first. All right. Got a very popular scrolling shooter, Battle Garega. Much cheaper to get this version than the Saturn version. This sort of has a reputation as one of the best scrolling shooters of all time. And this port, or this version, is done by M2, which is kind of best in the biz in terms of porting things thoughtfully and tastefully. I have not played through this one yet. I've played it in other places before. I just haven't played the PS4 version yet, but I couldn't resist having that. One of the earlier VR games is Batman Arkham VR. I played all the way through this one. I've gotten all the trophies and stuff like that. It's almost more like a demo. Like, you really don't do that much in this game. There's like a small handful of vistas. You do a lot of investigating and looking around in sort of bat vision and solving some basic puzzles and things like that. Not so much in the way of combat, but, you know, in terms of kind of an introductory VR experience, it's pretty good. You know, if you find someone who's familiar with Batman and that property and you want to show them VR, this is a good game to do that. We have another Batman game. This time it's Batman Arkham Knight. I have not played this one. My wife played a little bit of this one. I haven't played past Arkham Asylum, actually. I've never even played Arkham City before. Attack on Titan, the game. This is the first one. I do not own the second one. I watched the first 2 seasons of the show. Really liked it at the time when it was first coming out, and so wanted to pick up the game. You know, I like the idea of swinging around on those sort of like steam jetpacks around the giant monsters. Haven't had a chance to play it yet, though, but I will. The second one is very collectible. I do not own the second one. If I play the first one and I like it, I'll get the second one at some point. Oof. Best VR game right here, Astrobot Rescue Mission. Let's go. Yeah, love Astrobot. Great game. Oh my god, such a wonderful, delightful, playful VR experience. Definitely the best showcase for like the capabilities of VR. After you play this, you will think to yourself that third-person VR games like this are the future, and I agree. So happy that Astrobot has kind of become a mascot for Sony, and now we're getting the full Astrobot game. Really, really deserve it. And yeah, this is just an incredible, incredible VR experience. This game is still dirt cheap. If you have a VR headset, you absolutely 100% need this. If you don't have a PSVR 1 headset, this game alone is worth it, I would say. Especially these days where you can get one pretty cheap. Astbreed, this is another scrolling shoot 'em up. I played this one when it first came out, maybe a decade ago. It does some perspective shifting and stuff like that. I don't know too much about it because I only played it at a buddy's house for about a half an hour, but it was fun. Assault Suit Lanos, bringing that Assault Suit series back by Rising Star Games, or published by Rising Star Games. This is one of the kind of the early, I think, collectible releases. I want to say, I don't want to spread misinformation, but something about like this game was published through GameStop's only or something like that. But in terms of that aside, in terms of the actual game, it is like the previous Assault Suit games on like Super Famicom and stuff like that, where it's a side-scrolling mech shooter. Very neat game, one that I need to go back and put a little more time into. I never actually finished it. We have Airy and the Secret of Seasons. This is kind of a Zelda-style game where the main mechanic, obviously, is you can control seasons. Plays like a PS2 game, like an action-adventure game. It's fun. I got about halfway through. I streamed a bit of it. I got distracted by other stuff, but someday I'll go back and finish it up. Arslan, The Warriors of Legend. I don't know too much about this game. I know it's kind of a Musou game. I've heard that it's one of the better ones and maybe a good introductory one, but I have not played it yet. We have Ark Park. Again, this is another one that was sort of purchased with the intent to own all the physical VR1 games. I've never played Ark Survival Evolved or anything like that before, so I can't speak to it. Origami, this is the collector's edition, so it includes, digital soundtrack and art book, but this is like a traditional stealth game, so kind of like a Tenchu game. It's really stylized in this sort of cel-shaded, very bright color, well, not bright, but very colorful, very rich set of worlds. A lot of nighttime environments, so blues and purples and things like that. A pretty fun stealth game. I think it went on maybe a little longer than it needed to, but I did manage to finish this one, and I had a good time with it. This is one of my always recommended games on PSVR or PS4. That's Aquatic Adventure of the Last Human. This is like a boss rush game, so it's a little bit gated exploration, but it's a little more imagine 2D underwater submarine Shadow of the Colossus. I mean, it says it right there on the tin, right? Shadow of the Colossus of the Sea. I need more games like this in my life. So, they agree with me. Yeah, really fun, just series of bosses that you have to take on. And it's just like a good, tight 4-hour experience. It's just really pleasant. And I never hear anyone talking about that game. We got Chronos Before the Ashes. This is sort of one of the also ran Souls-like game, not one that I've played yet. Children of the Zodiarcs. This is, we're getting into a string of ones that I haven't had the chance to play yet. This is an RPG, sort of a tactical RPG, if I recall correctly. RPGs are so hard for me to find the time for, but I do really want to dig into this one when I can find the time. Children of Morta. I saw someone recommend this game. I'm trying to remember who it was. Might have been Steph's Too Deaf. But someone was saying that Children of Morta is a very fun, sort of Diablo-ish style game. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, though. Ooh, I've definitely played this one, though. Catherine the Full Body Collection. This is the steelbook from the collector's edition. I love Catherine, one of my favorite PS3 games. Just phenomenal. I love the puzzle aspect and the story aspect. I think that they work really well together. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely my cup of tea. And then this is another one that my wife is really, really into. She is all about Catherine. She's probably one of her 10 favorite games of all time. So she's played through this more than I have, but a good game to revisit from time to time. A great game to revisit. Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Just a collection of a bunch of the older Castlevania games. Really just kind of handy to have, especially for Kid Dracula. I own most of these games on their original consoles, except for Kid Dracula, but, convenient to have this. And as I always say, sometimes these collections are fun to do some trophy hunting in, because you get to play through a bunch of retro classics and earn trophies along the way. It's a fun way to kind of mix two of my different gaming hobby subgenres. We're going to do all three of these at once, because the first two I have nothing to say about. That is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare. I haven't actually played either of these. I think one of them I got at a garage sale for a couple bucks, because I like to play through the campaigns in a Call of Duty game. And the other one a buddy of mine played and just gave it to me when he was done. The one I did play from this generation, or this console generation, is Call of Duty World War II. I was excited to see a game go back to the World War styles of combat, a little Medal of Honor frontline type action. And put about 50 hours into the multiplayer on this one. Every 5 years, I grab a Call of Duty. I have fun playing with some buddies for a little bit, and then I move on with my life. I never really commit too much time, and I definitely don't keep up with them too often. Oh, let's get a sip of coffee. Would you believe that we're nowhere close to done? All right. Call of Cthulhu. This is another sort of adventure horror game, similar-ish to Black Mirror, not one that I have played yet. We have Caladrius Blaze. This is the limited run version. I used to have the import version on PS3 of this game. Very good scrolling shoot 'em up. I had a lot of fun with it. It's kind of a bullet hell style shoot 'em up, but really enjoyable. When this one came out, I upgraded to the PS4 version and I sold off my PS3 version. The Bunker. Bunker is one of these modern FMV games from Wales Interactive, who's put out a bunch of these. I think I have one or two more coming up. Have not played this one yet, but I have heard from my co-host Trav on Polykill that he says that one's good. Bug Fables. This is the cute bug-themed Paper Mario style game that came out several years back. I have not had a chance to play this one. This one is kind of eternally on my almost played list. Like I'm just about to play it, and then I get distracted by something else. But I will play it at some point. Budget Cuts. This is a VR game that has a lot of good buzz about it, and probably one of the more higher profile PSVR 1 games I haven't played. Just never got around to it. Bubsy the Woolies Strike Back. So if you're looking for more 2D bubs in your life, well, the Bobcat has returned, my friends. High quality gaming right here, okay? This is where champions are made. Oh, one of my all-time favorites, a game that just got a remake, actually, is Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. Incredible sort of narrative-driven puzzle game where you control each of the brothers with one of the two thumbsticks. Just a really powerful, creative, thoughtful game. Just one that I genuinely really, really love. This is a sealed copy because I played this back in the day before it ever had a physical version, and I just had to own a copy for the collection. And I intend to play the remake here soon. We've got Brigandine, The Legend of Runercia. So this is a game following up Brigandine on the PlayStation 1, put up by Working Designs. You know, couldn't resist like one of these high fantasy, old school RPGs when it came out. I actually want to play the PS1 version before this one, though. The Bridge. This is another one that's sealed because I think I got it for free on PS Plus at some point. But this is a like sort of brain-bending physics puzzler, kind of like MC Escher style, where there's just like physics and sort of environmental design that doesn't make sense in real life. It's very Braid inspired, I would say. And yeah, I've never been able to get through this game. I have gotten stuck halfway through the game probably 3-4 times at this point. I always see it on my trophy profile, and I'm like, I should finish that game, and then I don't. Blue Reflection. This is a pretty collectible game early on in the PS4. I think maybe it's gone down in price now, but yeah, kind of like a magical girl high school sort of RPG, you know, a little Persona energy, but a little more pop star teen idol group type of game. I've heard that it's really good, and I do intend to play it. Oh, hey, we just mentioned one of these not too far back. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. I have not played 2. So when I said I like both of them, I mean, I know I'm going to like this one, and I have played the first one. But yeah, Curse of the Moon 2. This is the superior Bloodstained series in my mind. Dark Rose Valkyrie, one of the earlier sort of non-franchised RPGs that came out around the time of Blue Reflection. And I think a neat looking game. Again, not one that I've played yet. Sort of, I think I got this one on like a buy two get one, and I'm like, that seems like something I'd be into. Dark Pictures Anthologies Little Hope. I have not played Little Hope. The only of the Dark Pictures Anthologies games that I've played by Supermassive is Man of Medan. Again, these are, you know, like, this is Supermassive, so this is The Quarry, this is Until Dawn, those types of games. Narrative, choice-driven horror. I actually hope to play this one. I little hope to play this one this year in October with some friends of mine. They have a cool mode in these games where you can, each person can kind of play as one of the characters, and you hand the controller around, and they control the character and make decisions, which is fun because then, you know, different people panic in different ways and make different decisions. I think it'll be fun. And there's Man of Medan. Man of Medan, Dark Pictures Anthologies. This game is okay. These games don't live up to the potential of Until Dawn or the potential of The Quarry, but you know, they're fun, sort of like B budget, low budget sort of horror. This game was worth a playthrough, but I wouldn't go back and really revisit it. This is Danganronpa. This is another M2 scrolling shoot 'em up release. This game is a disco focused, like, party shmup, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it, but this is a cave game. This is one of the cave shooters that had not come out in the States for a long time, and then Limited Run helped to put it out, and I love a good scrolling shoot 'em up, so I just have to get around to that one. Cyberpunk 2077. I have not played any Cyberpunk. I know that it's been patched, fixed, 2.0'd into the ground. I have friends that highly recommend this game. I am very interested in it. I just haven't found the time, so I think there's a PS5 version, or there should be a PS5 version by the time I play it, but PS4 for now. Cry Star, another one of these sort of just like intriguing looking RPGs, not one that I've played. Crypt of the Necrodancer, incredible game, you know, famous for having one of the hardest platinum trophies of all time that like 0.001% of people have actually obtained. But in terms of the gameplay itself, you know, it's fun, rhythm-based, roguelike dungeon crawling. Quite an enjoyable game. I played it more on PC than I did on PS4, but cool to have that. Creed, Rise to Glory. So this is, you know, a boxing game in VR, not one that I have played. I got it from a half-price books, as you can tell. But I have not played through that one yet. Crawl. This is the first game that I don't remember anything about why I purchased. It was a limited run game, and I'm sure at the time I looked up footage. It seemed interesting, and so I popped on it. Haven't played it. Crash 4. I have played through this one. Great game. I'm more of a Spyro guy than a Crash Bandicoot guy, but I can respect Crash Bandicoot. I can pick up what he's putting down. So, really a good foot forward for the series, right? After the Insane trilogy, they did a good job making a fourth in the spirit of the other three, you know, making it a little bit more difficult, a little more varied, but it still feels Crash Bandicoot, which is the most important thing, and definitely worth playing. And then, of course, I have the Insane trilogy as well. And I've played through I think I've played through all three of them at this point. Oh no. My wife's gonna be upset about this one. It's the console. So this is sort of, this is a strange game. Imagine kind of like a Telltale game, but it's also sort of like a narrative RPG of like stats and stuff. It's a decision, you know, choice-based episodic style adventure game, but there's a little more depth to it than a typical Telltale game. It's all about this sort of secret society of, you know, kind of Illuminati type stuff. You can see like Ben Franklin is in there and like George Washington and stuff. We got halfway through this game and then I just got distracted. We haven't gone back to it. She's always saying that we should go finish it, and I never remember, or I never find the time or energy to do it. So one day I will finish the console. We've got a 2-pack here. We've got Cotton Fantasy and Cotton Reboot. Both, you know, one is the reboot of the classic Cotton scrolling shoot 'em up, and then a new version in that same series. Both of these are very like easy, cartoony, fun scrolling shooters. Obviously, both are fun times. Costume Quest 2. I've never played the second one. Love the first one. You know, the idea of a turn-based RPG where your characters transform into their Halloween costumes is genius. I love it. I've heard that this one is solid, but I just haven't ever found the time. I always have this in my maybe pile during October, and I just haven't ever pulled the trigger. Got Control. Incredible game. Remedy knocked it out of the park with this one. Probably their best work. This or Alan Wake 2. And yeah, I love this game. My wife loved this game. I've played it or watched it be played probably 8 times at this point. I think the combat is fun. I think that the world building and the environment is so cool and interesting. I love reading about all the AWEs and things like that. So yeah, highly recommend this one. If you haven't played it somehow to this point, you should. And I haven't played the DLC yet, so I do plan on going back, probably via the Ultimate Edition on PS5 and playing the DLC. All right, Concrete Genie. This is one of like, I guess the more enjoyable, popular, easy platinum trophies. This is a Sony Interactive Entertainment game, so Sony first party. Really just kind of a sweet story about this kid who gets picked on, and he has this brush and can paint and interact with these sort of graffiti monsters. A fun game, really varied, interesting environments, and not doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just nice. It's just a feel good kind of game. One that you leave your time with and think to yourself, yeah, I'm happy I did that. Close to the Sun. This is a narrative puzzle game, maybe bordering on walking sim. Not one that I have played yet. I think I got this as a Christmas gift from someone. And then Clockwork Aquaria. This one's interesting. It's from Strictly Limited. So this is a port, the first home port of kind of a lost arcade game. So this was designed originally as an arcade game, I think in Japanese arcades. It's very cartoony, very colorful. And they finally brought it home to consoles. And when you play through it, it's surprising how short it is. Like, you can play as 3 characters, and you can beat the game with all 3 characters in under like an hour. It's like 5 stages, and that's it. Not a lot of variety. So, like, the idea of it is cool that they brought it home, and the gameplay itself is fun enough. It's just over before it starts. You're like sad to see it go. So, a cool game. All right, move these games back to the shelves and grab some more. Next up here we have Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker. This is another, I think, Wales Interactive game. Yeah, it is. This is a really interesting game. It's not a great game, but the idea is interesting. It's another FMV game, and you're trying to figure out who killed a psychiatrist based on interviews of his patients. And I won't go into like too much detail about the patients, but the way that the game actually plays is you can type in questions, and the game kind of parses the questions, and they will respond with FMV cutscenes, like recorded footage, their answers. And it's, the game's kind of keying off of specific words that you put in questions and stuff like that. So it's pretty interactive. If you're going to play, I recommend plugging in a keyboard to play it, because punching in every question, which you will enter hundreds and hundreds of questions over the course of the game, is just really way too arduous if you're using a controller to do it. But neat game. Again, not incredible, but conceptually neat. Infamous Second Son. I've actually never played an Infamous game, so I got this one at a garage sale for $7 new at some point. I think it was from like a Best Buy representative. Immortal Unchained. This is another of those sort of like Souls style games, just not one that I have personally played, so one that I'll get around to at some point. Interesting game. Icy. This is a 2D sort of character action game, stylish combat with this sort of like cyberpunk android anime style protagonist, but it also is the type of game that goes places. I'll say it's very much the type of game that you want to go in not knowing too much about. It is an interesting game that takes some twists and turns. Ooh, one of my favorites on the console, Hyper Light Drifter. I absolutely love this game, and this beautiful version from iam8bit. Yeah, just kind of everything I look for in an indie. Just like incredible world design, like art, storytelling that's sort of like addition by subtraction, like show don't tell type of storytelling. Incredible soundtrack. Combat is everything you want it to be. It's just top to bottom, it's the whole package. I'm waiting with bated breath for Hyper Light Breaker. But yeah, really recommend this one. And this is such a heavy version. It comes with like, disc is popping out here, but it comes with like the world's thickest instruction manual of all time. Look how thick that thing is. Hover. This is a sort of like cyberpunky, almost Tony Hawk style game. Not one that I've played, but it seemed kind of fun. Can never say no to a Hot Wheels game. Do a little Hot Wheels racing from time to time. Every now and again, these games are just fun pick up and play type games. If you love like classic, like Saturn era driving games, Daytona and stuff like that, Definitely check out Hot Shot Racing. Really, really fun game. Got this fun polygon art style and stuff like that. An incredible soundtrack by friend of the channel, Jason Heine, the Heine House. So at the very least, check out the soundtrack. This is where people are going to be mad at me. Horizon Complete Edition, I have not played. I've never played a Horizon game. Well, that's not true. I played Horizon Call of the Mountain for VR too, but I've never played a mainline Horizon game. I do intend to play it at some point. It's just when will I get around to it? Who's to say? VR horror game Home Sweet Home. This is in that sort of genre of like flashlight in a house horror, you know, like just going room to room, getting spooked in the kitchen, getting spooked in the basement, that type of thing. It sort of delivers what you expect it to. Not an amazing game, but cool enough. Whole New World. This is kind of a gated exploration-y sort of throwback style action game. You know, harkening back to NES era. Hidden Agenda. This is a fun. This is the PlayLink series. So for folks that don't remember PlayLink, these were games that were set up where you could download a mobile app and play multiplayer games where everyone is using their phone, kind of like Jackbox or something like that. But Hidden Agenda was a, you know, Until Dawn or Telltale style, like choice-driven detective suspense thriller. And it wasn't very good, but the idea of like you would vote on decisions on your phone and you wouldn't know what the final result would be until all the votes were tallied from you and all your friends was kind of neat. Here They Lie. This is a VR game I have not checked out yet. Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. The sequel to this one just came out and people are not loving it so much, unfortunately, but I really liked the first one. I can't speak to the second one. I haven't played it. But yeah, great game. Obviously play with headphones and you get told this very unique narrative and this beautiful world, you know. Ninja Theory did a good job just crafting a space and a vibe. Even if it's a little bit tense or uncomfortable at times. Really quite cool. This version has a slip cover, which, you know, who doesn't love a slip cover? Greedfall. This is almost Bethesda style open world action RPG. Not one that I've played, but I've heard good things. Got Gravity Rush Remastered and Gravity Rush 2. I love Gravity Rush Remastered. I love Gravity Rush. I've played through the Vita game a couple of times. Incredible game. Definitely worth checking out if you can get your hands on this one. Great port by Bluepoint in a phenomenal game that's just it's very special on Vita or here. And then Gravity Rush 2, for all the love I have of the first one, for whatever reason I started Gravity Rush 2 and then immediately stopped. And I just wasn't in the right place and time to play it when I did the first time. And so I've always been kind of saving it, ready to go back, but I just haven't yet. Gravity Ghost? I don't even know how to describe this game. It's very strange. It's like a puzzle game, but everything is focused around like manipulation of gravity and like orbiting around things. Very unusual. Not a bad game. Not like, again, one that is gonna like change your life or anything, but it was a really interesting couple of hours. Grand Kingdom. This is another RPG that's still sealed. Are you noticing a trend of me optimistically buying RPGs and not having time to play them? Golem. This is a VR game that I've heard is actually really, really good. This is probably towards the top of the ones that I want to check out. VR one, of course, and supposed to be one of the better ones, just not a game I've played. God of War 2018. I don't need to say anything about this game that hasn't already been said. You know, it is a classic for a reason. Great sort of soft reboot of the franchise, but also a continuation of the story. Really interesting direction that they went with the gameplay, and I think a good way to move that series forward. Unlike God of War 3 Remastered, which I've never actually played this one. I played God of War 1 and 2 on PS2, but I never actually played the third. I watched a friend play a bit of it, but I've always meant to go back to this one and try it. Got Dex. This is a sort of side-scrolling, sort of futuristic shooter kind of action game. I was recommended this one somewhere, and I just haven't played it yet. I had to import it, though. Devil May Cry 5. Heard this game is phenomenal. I've actually played almost all the Devil May Cries, other than 4. But I probably will skip 4 and go right to 5, honestly, because people say such good things about this one. Hey, speaking of, Devil May Cry HD collection. Just good to have a collection like this if I ever want to go back to any of these games. Especially 1, which is probably my favorite. 3, a close second, but I really like 1 for some reason. And I have not played DMC Devil May Cry, the reboot. Although friends in my circle have said that it's pretty good. So I know it doesn't always have that reputation, but the people I trust have recommended it to me. So Detroit Become Human. If you're into Quantic Dream, this game is probably one that you've played before. If not, this is another narrative, choice-driven, like multi-character storyline type of games. Played this one with my wife. We both enjoyed our time with it, and yeah, just solid. Destiny Connect TikTok Travelers. I've been saving this one for a rainy day. It's like a turn-based RPG. It reminds me a lot of Okage Shadow King on PS2. Like that's sort of just like off the beaten path, weird, quirky kind of RPG. But one that I haven't actually played through yet. This is the Steelbook for Destiny. Funny enough, when the first Destiny came out, I played the multiplayer a lot, but I never actually got into the single player. So, yeah, I mean, obviously people are all moved on to Destiny 2 at this point. Even Destiny 2 is wrapping up, but I did enjoy my time multiplayer with the first Destiny. Desert Child. I don't really know how to describe this game. It's kind of like a point-and-click adventure. It's more like a walking sim. You just kind of wander around this very artistic world, very stylized, very specific vibe, and just sort of do tasks for people. Odd game. Really quite unique. Not much else out there like it. Descenders. Love a good downhill mountain biking game. We don't get enough of these downhill domination style games. Deracine. This is the game on VR that I think is probably famous for being a From Software game on PlayStation VR. It is, again, interesting. It's not what I was expecting it to be when I played it. It was a little more quaint, I guess. I don't know. It's just like a little bit more gentle. Maybe the best way I can describe it. I wasn't expecting like Dark Souls or anything, but it really is just kind of about exploring this orphanage, solving simple puzzles, and kind of like vibing. Deponia. So this is a point-and-click adventure game with really stylistic art. And I have played through this one before. I enjoyed it. I did get stuck a few times. This is in that sort of like Moon Logic style of puzzles where you just like really absurd solutions, right? You attach the bubble gum to the back of the cat, and then the bubble gum sticks to the leaf from the tree, and then the leaf is used to grab a butterfly out of the air because it's sticky with gum, that type of thing. This one was a big surprise to me. Deliver Us the Moon. This is an adventure puzzle style game where it all takes place kind of on the moon or on a space station near the moon. And yeah, really interesting narrative, very fun game. Well, not a very fun game, but a very interesting game, and a very worth your time type of game. Death Stranding. I have not played Death Stranding. Please be kind to me. I'm sorry. We have Death's Gambit. I've heard this is a really good side-scrolling action Souls-like kind of game. You know, maybe something like Blasphemous, but people have really said this game is phenomenal. Dear Esther Landmark Edition. Not one that I've played through yet. I do like walking sims in this style, so I will play through this one at some point. Ooh, phenomenal game right here. Dead Cells. Let's go. I'm not good enough to really do very well at Dead Souls, but man, I love Dead Souls. This game rules. They're constantly adding new content to it. They're constantly building on it. I mean, now they've stopped, but they put so much into this package, so much variety. If you are into roguelikes at all, this is like truly one of the best of the best of the best. Highly, highly recommend. Daymare 1998. This is a survival horror-ish type game. That's why I bought it. But it's by GS2 Games, which is not very compelling. They don't always put out the best stuff. And then we have Darksiders War Mastered Edition. And that's Dark Souls 3. It's not Darksiders at all. Darksiders War Mastered Edition. I have not actually played any Darksiders games before, but I've always meant to. They seem really cool. And so I'll get around to probably this version at some point to try it out, but I was happy to pick that up because it's a series I've always intended to try. We might come across one or two more Darksiders games as we go. So yes, Dark Souls 3, this is my day one edition. I was there, the second this game dropped, I was all over it like flies on honey. Love Dark Souls 3. This is a slipcover. I know that this game has a little bit of a rougher reputation, but man, I think Dark Souls 3 is up there. It's one of the best. I really enjoyed my time with it. And one that I've been meaning to replay at some point. This is probably the Souls game that I most want to revisit. Then we've got Dark Souls Remastered. What needs to be said about the original, the legend? I actually bought Dark Souls Remastered so that my wife had an easy way to play through it. She just played through it this year and finally beat Dark Souls. So massive shout outs to her. Yeah, way to go, babe. Dark Souls also rules, by the way. Got a twofer here, Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. I have played the 2 remake. I have not played the 3 remake. 2 remake is incredible. All right, Resident Evil 2 was my first ever PlayStation 1 game, so I have a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fondness for it. It's my favorite Resident Evil, and they did it such justice in this. I can't believe they knocked it out of the park so well. Yeah, definitely like everything I could have asked for in a modern version of Resident Evil. Just perfection. And then I have not played the remake of 3 yet, but I'm very optimistic after playing 2 and liking the remake of 2 so much. Headlander. This is a gated exploration style game, and one where you can like remove your head and attach it to other bodies and things. Not one that I've played before, but I've heard good things. Gungrave VR. I really like the packaging on this game, right? This sort of like holofoil style. I haven't actually opened it out of this like probably GameStop pseudo shrink wrap, but yeah, it's got a lot going for it for a game I haven't played. Gungrave is a sort of janky series that I can appreciate. Obviously, I want VR games. And it's published by Xseed, which is a publisher I really trust, especially they were big during like the 6th generation, 7th generation. Can't go wrong with a little Guilty Gear in your life. This is Exerd's Sign. I love Guilty Gear and BlazBlue both. These are the fighting franchises that I get into the most. Got Griffin Knight Epic. This is put out by Strictly Limited. This is one of their earlier releases if you're a Strictly Limited person. Side-scrolling shoot-'em-up where you ride on this griffin. I have not popped it open and played it yet. I've heard it's a pretty average shoot-'em-up, but I mean, even an average shoot-'em-up can be a really good time, right? So I still want to check it out. Oh, what a phenomenal game. Grim Fandango Remastered. This is the remaster of the classic, LucasArts, Double Fine, Tim Schafer, all the big names coming together, making a beautiful, beautiful adventure game. I played through this on PC back in the day, and I absolutely love Grim Fandango. I think it's so funny, clever, creative, and I couldn't resist getting the remaster. Eagle Flight in VR. This is a VR game where you control an eagle and fly around. If you're motion sick sensitive, this game is not going to be very kind to you, but for the times where I can tolerate it, it just feels good to fly around as a bird in VR, right? Drive, Drive, Drive. This is a strange one. It's called Drive, Drive, Drive because you play as like, you're racing on these tracks, but you're actually racing on 3 tracks simultaneously, and you can kind of hop between them. Odd game. It plays It's like a pretty average racer, and that concept is interesting, but I don't know that it's a great game. It's just an interesting idea. Drive Club VR. I don't even know that you can still play this game anymore, but not one that I played. Oh, baby. Dreams. I love Dreams so much. There's so much creativity packed in this. For like the $10 or $15 this game goes for, you will get hundreds and hundreds of hours of entertainment. It is the most criminally underserved game that Sony has ever published. They did Media Molecule so dirty. They made so many... Well, not even that they made so many decisions, but they just failed this game at so many opportunities by not doing things they could have done. They could have put it on PS Plus a long time ago, well before it was. They could have published a free client version to play these games. They could have promoted it better. There's no reason this game had to die on the vine, but there's still tons and tons and tons of incredible games in Dreams. Please, please, please pick this up and enjoy them before those servers get shut down, because the writing is kind of on the wall for this game, and I don't think it's going to last very long. Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2. I have played a little bit of the first one and watched a buddy play a little bit more of the first one. Never played the second one. But I would like these. Well, I love the Dragon Quest series in general. And I'm not actually a big Minecraft fan, but I think a Dragon Quest coat of paint plus some narrative structure is what will get me into this series. So, of all the games that are kind of Minecraft adjacent, these are the ones that I think have the best chance of getting me in, and I'm excited to check them out. And honestly, a lot of what I just said could apply to these two games too. Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. I've also played a little bit of the first, and watched a buddy play a little bit more of the first. Never played the second. I'm also not a big Musou guy, but I think the Dragon Quest coat of paint is what could get me into this series. So, what can I say? Dragon Quest is just incredible. And that's why I'm here to tell you that 11 is one of the best games ever made. This is my favorite Dragon Quest, this or 5. It is such a special game, a cast of characters unlike any other. You know, just people you want to spend time with. Beautiful, colorful world, fun combat. You know, it kind of does simple, basic JRPG combat right. They stick to what works well, and they change just enough to keep improving. Dragon Quest is a phenomenal series. Dragon Age Inquisition. I've played the first game, but never Dragon Age 2 or this one. Doom VFR. I picked this one up optimistically, but I haven't played it because I've heard so many people say that it gives them motion sickness, and I am, you know, subject to motion sickness, so I'll get around to it at some point. Or I won't, you know? Hard to say. I will. Disney Infinity. Never played this game. I was gifted this by my friend Sancho Panda, and he said that I would enjoy it as sort of just like a 3D platformer. So I have some of the figures back like up somewhere around here to play it with. I just haven't popped it in yet. Doom 2016. This is basically great, you know? It's just really good. Yeah, what a way to bring Doom forward. Great soundtrack in this one. Very like high energy. Played through it, really enjoyed my time with it. Have not played the sequel. Don't think I own the sequel, but really a phenomenal way to keep that series alive. Don't Knock Twice. This is another flashlights in a house style VR horror game. There's a lot of these. I think I played a little bit of this one, but they all kind of blur together in my mind. We've got Disgaea 5. I used to be such a big fan of the Disgaea series, and the games are still the same. There's no reason I don't love them anymore. I just don't feel like I have the time for them anymore. I played 1 through 4 and really liked them, but 5 is where I stopped. And so I have picked this one up optimistically, but I haven't actually played it yet. The first 4 games are really good games if you have the time for them, though. Disaster Report 4. This is a pretty recent pickup for me. You know, you kind of explore this town after a natural disaster has occurred. It's supposed to be janky but charming, and just one that I have not gotten around to yet, but I specifically sought this one out because I do want to try it. We've got a couple of Digimon games. We've got Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth and Digimon World Next Order. I've heard that these games are phenomenal. I actually, especially Digimon World New Order, I'm excited to try this one because I am a Digimon World fan. at least for the first game on PS1. I grew up playing that game, really loved it. I grew up watching the first couple seasons of Digimon. So I think I could really enjoy this game. I just have to commit to it. Knights of Azure 2. I played the first Knights of Azure, which surprisingly is not next to this in the pile. And I enjoyed it. So they're not anything phenomenal, but in terms of like kind of dungeon crawly action games, they're pretty good. We've got another scrolling shoot 'em up. This one is Ginga Force. This is in this like kind of special edition packaging from I think First Press Games. Obviously I haven't popped it open, but this one was originally a game that I think was on the 360. You could import it, and then the PS4 version came out, so excited to dig into that. Girl and the Robot. So this game I was really intrigued by because, you know, it kind of has that like store brand Fumito Ueda energy, like it's trying to be an eco kind of game. I have not played it. My wife did play it, and she basically said steer clear. Girl and the Robot is not the way to go. But doesn't that cover just look so intriguing? So maybe that alone is enough to sell you on it. Gigantosaurus the game. This is a 3D platformer recommended to me by my good buddy Ari Lewis 2011, Ari Louie on YouTube. Check him out. And this is my kind of just licensed jank that I think I will quite enjoy. Haven't popped it in yet, but I know what I'm getting into, and I know I'll have fun with it. Ghost of Tsushima, PS4 version. I do have the PS5 version too. I played about half of this game. I thought it was great, but I wasn't really clicking with it. Something about it at the time I was just not really jiving with. I could tell it was a well-made game. It just wasn't grabbing me. So I have decided to shelve it, and I'll come back when I'm ready to kind of appreciate it for what it is. Ghost Giant. This is a great little charming VR game. You play as these like hands of this giant ghost character helping this little cat overcome their problems and solve puzzles and navigate around the world. Really a very sweet game. Great use of VR. I love this type of game in VR. This is probably one of my higher VR recommendations. Game Tengoku Cruisin' Mix Special. This is another port of a classic shoot 'em up that I have not gotten around to yet. I'm gonna have a shoot 'em up day one day. I promise you, it's gonna happen. But yeah, really excited that this one got a physical release. Future Unfolding. I know very little about this game. I probably thought it looked good at the time, but couldn't tell you now. Fury. Another one that I've been meaning to play for so long, and I keep almost playing it. There's a couple of these like intense action type games that are just like, I'm just waiting. But this is a really stylish boss rush style game. Yeah, really, I love a good boss rush game, and so I know I'm going to be obsessed with this when I do get around to it. I just haven't yet, but yeah. Fury. Fruit Ninja VR. I think that speaks for itself. Flint Hook. This is kind of a neat little game. 2D platformer, all focused around a kind of grappling hook mechanic. Really beautiful, kind of like high-res pixel art graphics. I never got all the way through it, but from what I did play, I'm like, this is a really good game, you know? This feels like genuinely something that you could have played on like the Super Nintendo or something. Really just a nice, pleasant one. Flame in the Flood. A lot of folks recommended this to me, but I just have never found the capacity for it, so that's why it's still sealed. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise. Who doesn't love a good violent, punchy action game? This is actually one that for a while was a little hard to come by and now is a little easier to come by. But this is put out by RGG Studio, the same folks that did Yakuza, which is why a lot of people want to check it out. We've got Firewatch. Oh, what a game. Still sealed because I have the digital version. Probably my second favorite walking sim of all time. Just an incredible game. So much fun. Such a well-told story. So thoughtfully designed. I know I say that a lot, but it's especially after watching the kind of developer commentary for this game. You can tell how much care and love was put into this game. How much they labored over every little decision to make the game as good as it is. Top to bottom, just kind of top of the pack in terms of that genre. Firewall Zero Hour. I picked this one up way after its time. This is a multiplayer VR shooter. Oh, yeah. Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward. This is the one era where I played Final Fantasy XIV, was during Heavensward. And yeah, I really, really love Final Fantasy XIV. I'm so glad that it went on to become as successful as it did. And this is a really good expansion for that game. I've been meaning to go back and play through the story content from Heavensward on. I just haven't done so yet. I mean, obviously, it's hard to find time to play an entire MMO, right? Final Fantasy 15, I've probably never had as high of highs and low of lows as I have with this game. When I first started this game, I was so hot on it. I was like, man, this game is incredible. I'm so pumped to be playing it. And by the end, it was one of my least favorite Final Fantasy games. And that's kind of where my opinion stands today. And I think that folks that played it more recently have had a better experience because they have added like DLC and content to make the story a little more clear. But when I played it at launch, the story made no sense. I had no connection to the characters by the end. I just felt like the pacing was off. Not my favorite Final Fantasy, but I also kind of understand why people like it at the same time. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is a game that probably needs no introduction. I like Remake more than Rebirth, I think. I'm not entirely sure at this point. I still got to work out my opinion. But yeah, played through this one and was absolutely blown away. Another game where it's like, how did they do it, right? Like, how did they manage to deliver on the promise of a remake to one of the most well-beloved games of all time? Can't imagine having that kind of pressure and sticking the landing. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. I've played all of 30 minutes of this game. It seemed fun. Kind of like you have characters that match to different cards, like, you know, Ace, Jack, Queen, 1 through 9, stuff like that. A little bit of an offshoot Final Fantasy game, but seems neat. Farpoint. This is another shooter. I have not played this one because I've always meant to get the gun. I don't have the VR gun attachment, so I haven't played Farpoint as a result yet. I can apologize for 2 games at once. We have Evil Within 1 and 2. 1 has the lenticular cover. I have not played either of these games. Again, I have watched some folks play Evil Within 1 a bit and just never popped them in, but I do want to try. I do want to try them. I love a good horror game, so I'm sure I'll have fun. Everybody's Golf VR. Perfect use of VR. We love Everybody's Golf / Hot Shots Golf. And who doesn't want to golf in VR? That's just a good choice. Eve Valkyrie. This is one that I have not played. I picked this one up as part of my quest to get all the VR games. Ether 1. This is another kind of walking sim style puzzle game. I've heard that this one is pretty solid, probably about as good as Dear Esther, but just haven't popped it in yet. Etherborn. So this is a kind of like gravity bending puzzle game. Not really. When I say gravity bending, Gravity Ghost was about like manipulating gravity. This is more about like you being able to walk on the walls and ceilings and change the orientation of gravity based on where you're walking. It's a fun game, but it's so tragically short. Again, only like 5 levels in this game, and it's like over before it gets going. It feels like you just kind of like learned the basics and then the game ends. So they do add a remix mode where they change up the puzzles and you can play it in like a new game plus. But even that took like 45 minutes to an hour and then it was done. So yeah, kind of a bummer. Eternal Cylinder. Man, I don't know anything about this game, but I saw this cover and I was like, that's gotta rule. That's gotta be good, right? So I am purposefully staying completely ignorant of what the game actually plays like, but man, am I intrigued. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR. I had never played Skyrim before, actually. I'm one of the few people that played this first and never the original Skyrim. And wow, what an incredible experience in VR. I played it for probably 5 to 10 hours. Just so immersive, so cool, so fun to explore that world. But really, Skyrim is a long game to play in VR. So do I want to go back and finish it? Yes, but man, that's a lot of headset time. Effie? This is another game that plays kind of like a PS2 game, right? Of that style of action game. Something like a Maximo or something like that. So if you're ever in the mood to play something like that with really bright, colorful visuals, 3D action platformer, check out Effie. Earth Defense Force 4.1, The Shadow of New Despair. Just a good one to pop in when you're in the mood to do some random shooting of some random enemies. You know, that's what these games promise, right? It's just good, dumb fun. And Earth's Dawn. This is a game that kind of word of mouth amongst my friends group got me to pick it up, but I haven't actually played it yet. It's supposed to be really quite fun. Maybe a bit of a hidden gem, but that's not coming from me. That's secondhand hidden gemming for you. So check that out. Order 1886. This is a Ready at Dawn developed first-person shooter, short and sweet type of game. This is actually one that I haven't played all the way through myself, but I've been recommended to play through it many times. And yeah, I think that game has a pretty solid reputation. Seems like over time people like it more and more. Operation Warcade. This is a sort of like shooting gallery game that plays a little bit off of like old games like Operation Wolf and stuff like that. Pretty neat. Onrush. I loved this game when it came out. I used to play quite a bit of this online. Really fun racing combat style game. Kind of, you know, Burnout energy where you're having to take out cars and defeat your opponents and stuff like that. But yeah, really great game. I think at this point the servers are offline, so you can't really play it anymore, but still nice to have it just as like a representation of the good times that I spent with it. We have Oni-Chanbara Z2 Chaos. Just like a dumb, fun kind of hack and slash game. You know how these Oni-Chanbara games are. You kind of know if you're the target audience for these or not. You know, it's not my favorite genre or my favorite type of game, but there's no denying you can have like 3-4 hours of just like goofy, dumb fun. Omori. This is a fan gamer published turn-based RPG. Seems to be kind of a focus on mental health in this one. Has a little bit of like Earthbound energy, a little bit of Undertale energy to it. So I've wanted to check it out for a long time and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Omega Quintet, an Idea Factory turn-based RPG. So, you know, if you're into like the Hyperdimension Neptunia games and things like that, this one will probably be right up your alley. We have Ollie Ollie Epic Combo Edition. So this contains Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2. And these are both like 2D scrolling skateboarding games. Very strange, right? Really cool that this package came out and contained both of them. I'm excited to play through, especially the first Ollie Ollie. But it's nice that this one includes like a soundtrack and documentary and all sorts of stuff. It's a very tasteful package of the first two games. Okami HD, this is a classic. Just nice to have around for whenever I want to replay this game. You know, I played and loved it in the PS2 era. Beautiful watercolor painted art style, Zelda-style gameplay. Obviously, you're drawing in the world using the celestial brush in terms of combat and puzzle solving, and just a really, yeah, just a special game top to bottom. This is a game I really love, Odin Sphere. This is Odin Sphere Leaftthrisser. And yeah, I think that this game is one of the better Vanillaware games. They did a really good job with this. This is kind of what put them on my radar. I like that you play as these different characters. The turn-based side-scrolling combat is fun. Not turn-based. The sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like rotation, like the way that you travel around the world. It's not turn-based, it's action-focused. But yeah, really just a great game. I love a good game that has like a branching narrative that has multiple perspectives, where you play as different characters, seeing different or similar events from different angles. Always so fun. The Persistence. This is kind of a like horror shooter VR, almost like a roguelike. That's put up by Firesprite. Paranormal Activity, another flashlight in a house style horror game. I did play through this one. It is solid. You know, if you like the Paranormal Activity show or movies, then you'll like this one. Paper Beasts. This is one I picked up specifically to play in VR. It looks so interesting. Really unique world, and just like animal design like nothing you've ever seen before. I mean, obviously the cover is so evocative. These screenshots look pretty good. Yeah, this is just something else, something special. This is made by Eric Chahi, who did Another World or Out of This World, and so that'll give you kind of like a vibe check in terms of what you're going to be in for when you play it. Pang Adventures. This is like a modern port of the Pang games. There's one of these on PS1 and arcades and stuff. Just kind of classic arcadey style score chaser games. A new version of that. Oxenfree, so, kind of horror adjacent or kind of spooky vibes, narrative adventure. One that I've been recommended many, many times and have not checked out yet, but obviously I'm going to. That and the second one, I cannot wait. 2 for 1, we have Outlast Gourmet Edition not Outlast. Outlast is a different game. Overcooked Gourmet Edition and Overcooked 2. And these are some of my favorite games on PS4. Absolutely love both of these. Played them with my wife. Had a great, great time. She and I are always waiting for Overcooked 3. Why have you not gotten Overcooked 3 yet? Yeah, if you're in the mood for like silly, frantic party fun, things going wrong, fires you're constantly trying to put out, just goofy multiplayer, man, you really can't do much better than these. We're going to go back this year and do the DLC that we never did. This is why I said Outlast, because we have Outlast Trinity. This game is scary. Holy crap. The first Outlast is so freaking scary. I've only ever played the first Outlast. I never played Whistleblower or Outlast 2, at least not yet. But yeah, oh my gosh, so tense. Really, in terms of like hide and sneak style horror, some of the most intense I've ever played. Streaming that was an experience, I have to say. We have The Outer Worlds. Now, I liked this game, I think, more than most. I had never played a Fallout game, so I didn't have anything really to compare it to, but I enjoyed my time with Outer Worlds. It was not like the greatest game I'd ever played, but I think the year it came out, it was like number 8 or number 9 on my Game of the Year list. So if you like the Fallout style, or the Bethesda style, this is made by Obsidian, so like it's from those folks that did New Vegas. And so yeah, check it out. It's good. Our World is Ended. This is just an interesting looking visual novel that I have not had the chance to pop in and check out yet. N++. This is the really difficult precision platformer. So there's been N games since the beginning of time, basically. So many of these. But yeah, I play this at a friend's house. We do a lot of the multiplayer on this, and it's always a really good time. There are so many levels of this game, too. Like, you have just almost an infinite amount of content. Mystic Bell, cute, way forward, developed, kind of like witchcrafty, playful Halloween-style game. Kind of a 2D platformer. One that I have not checked out yet, but will. Mummy Demastered. This one got a lot of good buzz when it came out. To see the Mummy of all franchises get a new game, also a way forward game, was surprising, and even more surprising was that it turned out to be good. We have Mulaka. So this is another one of those kind of like art forward, light puzzle, adventure action type games. Probably less action, more adventure. Also from First Press Games, and yeah, came in the same style case. One that I just gotta find the time for. Moss. Oh, talk about great VR games. Oh my god. Love Moss. Probably my top 3 PSVR 1 games. Yeah, you control that little mouse, and you, very similar to like Ghost Giant, you help them navigate the world, solve puzzles, things like that. So sweet. So well made. Looks really good. It's just, yeah, this is kind of like what VR is all about to me. Although, tragically, I haven't played the sequel yet. I really need to get around to it. Of all of the sort of Souls-likes that came out, this is the one that I'm probably most intrigued to try, is Mortal Shell. Something about it, I don't know, it's the art style or what. It really calls out to me, but I haven't yet. I don't play a lot of the Souls-likes. I did play Liza P recently, and I did play Thymesia. So I guess I play some of them, but I mean, you can tell from the collection so far, there's a lot of them I have not played. Monstrum? I don't know anything about this game. I picked it up because it seemed like kind of a horror exploration game, and it's from Soedesco, which is a publisher that it's kind of like hit or miss, but they publish like interesting, janky games, which is sort of right up my alley. So I picked that one up, and I kind of want to stream it to see what it's all about live. Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight. I love Momodora. These are great side-scrolling kind of gated exploration action games. Beautiful art style. And yeah, also kind of in that like HD pixel style. So check that one out. You got Mitsurugi Kamui Hike. This is a action hack and slash game that I've heard is really short. This is an early limited run game. So this is PS4 limited run number 49. So I was a little less discerning about which ones I picked up. I've kept it because I've heard that it's supposed to be pretty fun, but I can't speak to it myself. If you watched some of my recent trophy videos, you'll know my opinions on this one, but Mirror's Edge Catalyst. When I first played this game, I thought it was a little bit of a letdown compared to the original Mirror's Edge. It's good, but the first Mirror's Edge is so good that it didn't live up to those expectations. And then revisiting it for the Platinum, I actually started to really like it. I think that the open world exploration and sort of like tracking down the collectibles is really the best part of this game. And so that improved my opinion of it a little bit. I still think that the first Mirror's Edge is kind of untouchable, one of the best. But yeah, if you're just craving more Mirror's Edge, you could do worse than that. The Metronomicon Slay the Dance Floor. This is a game I did not love so much. It is co-op, and it's kind of... This is why maybe just look up footage of it. Wasn't really my vibe, though. Metro Redux. A buddy of mine has recommended that I check out these Metro games. I haven't gotten around to them yet, but I'll let you know what I think when I do. Metal Wolf Chaos. Heck yeah. The legendary Metal Wolf Chaos that came out on the Xbox. It was an import game only, parodying, you know, I guess the United States. Just a dumb, over-the-top action game. So cool that this got like a more proper release now. And we have Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So one that, when it first came out, I really liked it. I've cooled on it a little bit since then. It's a great game, but I just prefer the more structured, linear Metal Gear Solid games. But yeah, in terms of like the minute-to-minute gameplay, stealth kind of combat, it's really hard to beat Metal Gear Solid 5 in terms of that aspect. So, one that probably most people have played if they have any interest in it, but... Mega Dimension Neptunia 7R, or VR, depending on how you want to read it. I don't pick up a lot of these games because I still have not played the first Hyperdimension Neptunia, but this one had a VR mode, so I decided to pop on it. All right, we need a sip of coffee here. Ooh, that coffee is getting cold. We've been here a while. Next up, Physical Mega Man 11. So I had originally purchased and played this game on Switch. Great game, you know. Good foot forward for Mega Man. If you're going to move it out of the pixel style, I think this is a great way to do it. I liked the sort of switching between the different gears and things like that. I ended up selling my Switch copy and getting a PS4 copy because I want to try to go for the Platinum Trophy. We have Medieval, the remake of the classic PS1 hack and slash or action adventure. Not one that I have played yet, but I guarantee I will have fun with this one when I do. Iron Man VR. I've heard this game's actually really good. I got this as a gift from my wife's family and just haven't popped it in yet, but I will. And then another more recent game I picked up. This is Marsupilami Hoob Adventure. So looks like a kid's game, is a kid's game, but it actually plays a lot like the Donkey Kong Country games, specifically the Donkey Kong Country Returns games. So if you're into those and you're looking for just like a fun, lesser known platformer, check out Marsupilami Hoob Adventure. Then we've got another VR game, Project Lux. I bought this game thinking it would be fun, and then it turns out it's really, really short. So it's almost like just watching an anime, basically. So, like a couple episodes of an anime. Prison Boss VR. Have not played this one. Again, trying to get every VR physical game, so that's sort of why we have that one. Prey. This is the 2017 Prey. I've heard so many positive things about this game. I don't know. That like immersive sim genre is not always my thing. I get a little overwhelmed playing them, but I think if I'm going to play one, this would probably be the next one that I would play. So I bought it kind of optimistically, hoping that I would get around to it and enjoy it. We've got Polybius. I have played this one. So this is sort of a Tempest style arcade score chase type game. Very strange VR1 game. And yeah, just kind of cool if you're in the mood to do a little more arcadey style VR gameplay. Got Pocky and Rocky Reshrine. So this is the remaster or sort of new version, however you want to look at it, of Pocky and Rocky. Which is a great top-down kind of like run-and-gun shooter on the Super Nintendo. And so I'm excited to check this one out. We'll be able to knock all these out at once. We've got PlayStation VR Worlds, which most people that own a PlayStation VR will have. Just a good variety of games here to check out what VR is capable of. And then I have the 3 PlayStation VR demo discs, which apparently one of them I paid 99 cents for. Yeah, just tons of different games you can try out, demos for various things. Nice to be able to try before you buy. The Occupation. Interesting game. So, in The Occupation, speaking of kind of like immersive sims, everything in this game is on a clock. So, kind of like Majora's Mask. But imagine all of that is taking place like over the course of the entire game. So people will go about their day and, you know, they'll be in their office job and they'll go to the bathroom or they'll go to meetings and stuff like that. And you're trying to kind of like break into places, learn information, and navigate this very like time-sensitive world. It's kind of complicated as a result, but it's also really interesting. I don't know if it fully sticks the landing, but there's not much else out there that's like this game. Got Observer. This is a kind of another Bloober Team spooky sort of narrative adventure game. One that I've been in the Halloween pile for a long time, but not one that I have popped in yet. This game always looks so cool. I mean to play this one sooner rather than later. No Straight Roads, which is kind of like this very stylish, almost like modern beat 'em up in a way. Something that I think probably has gone under a lot of people's radars, but is definitely worth checking out. All right, so I think we're going to have to call that part 1. We've been going for a long time now, and we're maybe halfway done. And I honestly don't think that my voice is going to survive all the way through the entire list unless we cut her off here. And so I will edit this together. We'll call this one the first half, and then I will publish part 2 shortly afterwards. So hopefully you've enjoyed, got some good recommendations. Stay tuned or subscribe to check out part 2 when that one comes out. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you in the next video.